All right, going live in three, two, one. Well, this is TNZ episode number 9. Definitely moving along there with those episodes. And we're on with me tonight, as usual, is Tina for our Monday night show or morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world.
Yeah.
So how are you doing, Tina?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Just another day in paradise.
Paradise, huh?
Construction going on outside my house. Paradise.
You got construction outside your house. Is it a?
Yeah, they're repaving the roads.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
So,
I see.
yes, road work does happen in major cities. Believe it or not, sometimes it doesn't seem like it ever does.
So you live in you're in a very urban area. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The uh I'm looking at the comments. People just saying hello. Miss Indonesian movie film. Not sure what that means. And what were we talking about? Well, that's another question from R2 to RR2Y. We're going to talk about Doctor Strangelove from 1964. So
Yes.
but I'm just curious. So as far as like is it does it make it even hotter or steamier when they're when they're paving the roadway? When you walk outside, is it like the hot? I don't know what you call it when the with the pavement. Is it? I remember when I was a kid looking at those things, and they were just real. I don't, as an adult, I don't really care, but when they'd pave the road in front of my house when I was a kid, it just seemed so hot and nasty. I just couldn't stand being around it. So
Yeah, it is. It's really, really hot. And it's all black, so it absorbs the heat. So it gets pretty tough, and we're on the second story, so we got everything going against us here.
oh, okay.
Here in paradise.
So what are the temperatures up to right now? Are you in the 90s?
I'm gonna guess. I haven't looked at the temperature. I'm guessing. Oh, my computer dashboard or my computer taskbar is telling me it's 78 and
Oh,
mostly cloudy.
that's not
But
too
it
bad.
does not feel 78. It feels like 88.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're finally in the DC area, getting into the 90s. We were in the 80s for a while, so we're
Whew.
in that area. Las Vegas has been in the 110s for a while, so I want to be in Las Vegas. But of course, there's no humidity, so it's not as bad.
Yeah, yeah. I've never been over there, but I would love to experience snow humidity someday.
So, the would you like to look at our question from last week? Do you remember what that was? I don't remember. I forgot to ask you that before we went live.
Let us be surprised when we look back.
Okay, I'm bringing it up right now. Give me a second here, and there we go. Should see it now. All right. Not that one, not that. Uh, Not that one, not for sure. No, not that one. Okay. Was it the superhero?
Yes.
There we go.
Yep.
There you go. Okay. So if there was a superhero based on a mythological creature, which one would it be? And I think Griffin was definitely ahead, if I remember correctly. Still 70, well, pretty high at 77%. Next one down is a Yeti, an anti-hero at 8%. And the rest are all tied at 5%. Centaur, a lake monster, and a gargoyle.
I'm really surprised with these responses, honestly. I didn't think a griffin would get that much traction, but I'm about it. I like that.
Oh, the griffin does look kind of when we brought up the imagery from last week. So it did look like something that would be kind of a mythological superhero type. It really did. So,
Yeah, it does.
but you're right. When I think of the word griffin at first, without seeing those images, I wouldn't think that at all. So, um,
Right.
the other ones, a centaur, not really. Yeti, not really. Gargoyle, maybe, and a lake monster, no. I could not see a lake monster being one. So, but
Hey, for the people, it's you add in an element of water. You know what I mean? We don't have any water-based superheroes other than Aquaman.
that's true. I'm trying to think. Of course, if you include all the people that live with Aquaman under the ocean, I don't know. I used to watch the Super Friends when I was a kid. I barely remember it. So, of course, he does have all his. He could telecommunicate with or with whatever through his mind. All the sea creatures. Do those count as superheroes as well?
What's that called? Uh,
Telekinesis?
is is it
I
with
don't know. I
um? It'll come to me. Nice. I'm excited to see what people have to say.
okay, so we got Julian Games, regular commenter. He said Peter Griffin, of course, reference to Family Guy. Let's see. And what's that say?
An eccentric scientist.
Thank
I
you.
hope they are tuned in for today's show because we have an eccentric scientist at the forefront of our movie.
That's true. That's true. We've got people coming in just saying hi. Nothing really. One, R2Y asks, is that a movie? Yes, it is a movie. And other people just saying hello and how are you doing? So hello everybody. How are you? So, um, let's see. The next one down, Griffin. It's obvious since it's a mixture of an eagle and a land animal. Yeah.
Yep.
Griffin, a mythical creature, a banana. Not sure what that is. A griffin, most likely Peter. Gargoyle with a little face of some kind. I can't tell what it's happy or what. And I like Gargoyle. I've seen it in animated series in an animated.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I never watched that TV show, but I do know the Gargoyles TV show was really popular. And it is an underrated protector. Gargoyles defend people and they protect people. They do.
they do. Okay. I see. When I think of Gargoyle, I think the opposite. I didn't know they were protectors. I thought they were like more devious in some way. So I don't know enough about them. I just don't know.
So people would put gargoyles on buildings. Have you ever seen like a gargoyle on like the corner of a really old building before?
Yeah, that's what I think. But that's what I always think of when I think of a gargoyle sitting on the edge of the.
Yeah. They protect the people.
Okay. I did not know that. See, I guess I don't remember the background of a gargoyle, so it just kind of I don't know.
Hey, no worries.
I I just remember seeing them on the sides of buildings, and if you asked me what they were, I would say that's what they are. They just sit on the sides of buildings. So they is that definitely why they're put there, is to protect the building, or is that just for obviously not in reality, but I mean, is that what the basic concept is why they're there?
So I believe they just like observe people and keep away bad spirits, but I could be totally wrong. They they're very smart. I don't think gargoyles are I would have to describe them as like chaotic good, but or chaotic neutral. But I could be wrong. I just think they protect you from bad things. But I don't think they're necessarily like heroic. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. I
They've definitely got their own agenda and their own motives, but they will keep out bad spirits.
Okay. Well, I learned something today. I guess maybe I should have known that all along, but I don't know. I guess that's something that's never really crossed my path. I guess during my entire life that or I did. I just forgot about it. Who knows? So
Yeah.
that,
Now you know.
no, I know, but I definitely agree. If I had to pick one of those, I'd definitely pick a griffin myself. But only, like I said, only because I saw those images. If I had known that, I'd still be at a loss as to which one to probably pick.
Yeah,
Mm,
they definitely look the most badass.
So, well, how many votes we get? 2,200 votes. Well, that's not too bad. It's not as high as we've gotten in other questions, but that's not too bad.
No, I thought, okay. All right. Well, this question this week is going to blow people's minds.
I think so too. I think so. So, what was the question you wanted to ask? I'll let you. Well, I know what it is. Well, why don't you go ahead and say it?
When, at, how do I want to say this? At the end of the world, when the world is ending, where will you be? If you want to rephrase that a little bit,
Uh, when the world comes to an end,
yes, when the world comes to an end, where will you be?
I would, I'm going to venture to guess that if you ask this question right now, I'd say like 99% of anybody's going to be dead by then. So,
Well, hopefully moments before then.
will you be? Is that good?
Yes,
Where will you be? Okay. So, what would your answers be? What are the best answers you can come up with?
I would say in no particular order, in a bunker.
In a bunker.
Yep,
Interesting.
protecting yourself, trying to stay safe.
Up there. My bad. How would interesting? Where would this bunker? I gotta ask. Where would this bunker be located? Is it
There
close
are
to?
many there are many bunkers around the entire world.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. If you asked me where a bunker would be located, I'd be like, I have no idea.
How about you want to change it hiding in the basement?
Oh, okay. We can make that the
You like that
second
one?
response. You want to do that?
Um, let's not make it the second because they're kind of similar.
Okay. Well, you want to put or hiding in a basement to combine the two?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Okay.
Just because I know you're fans playing video games, and
Video-
honestly, I might be doing that myself.
So the question is more or less along the lines: if you know the world is coming to an end, where'd you be? Would you like to change it to say that?
Sure. Yeah. If that clarifies it.
Yeah.
If
Okay. If you know the world, let's see, it's coming to an end.
where will you be?
There we go. Okay, I think that works better.
Okay. Then I agree.
Okay. Let's see, another place. Um, I bet you a lot of people would just be like partying and happy and dancing.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, let's see. Partying, is that how partying is spelled? I'm not even sure.
Yep.
Enjoying enjoying the last moments of life.
Yep.
There was a TV show, I don't know, you may not have ever heard it, called Sliders, where they would go to parallel Earths, different, same, it would just be the same year, but a different set of situations had occurred. So each Earth was different. So it was like a parallel universe kind of a thing. And one of the Earths that they went to, an asteroid was about to hit the planet. So everyone was almost everybody on the planet was, right, either celebrating. Some people were going to church. Some people were. It was an interesting concept. It kind of touched on what we're doing right now. So there, and at the very end, of course, they saved everybody, so no one died. And so it ended up being that all the stuff that they did was just for kind of wasted of time anyway. But they did have so
I like that. I like the sound of that though.
it's a pretty good episode. So
I would say, how about spending time with family?
that's
Kind
that's another thing I
of
think
like precious moments.
family. Oh, precious. How do you spell precious? You would give me a word.
Precious.
O-U-S. There we go. Okay. Do you want to
I
make
was
the
actually in a spelling bee in junior high.
That's interesting. I've heard in spelling bees that you don't even have to know how to spell the word. Is that correct? You just have to know the context or where it derived from, or how it evolved over the course of its so-called evolution, I guess is the best way to put it. Like how the word evolved over time. Is that true?
Not for the one I did. They just said spell like any word. I can't even think. I'm trying to think of the words that I had. I haven't thought about this in years. Um, Spell the word evidently. It's an easy word to spell, but I don't
Oh,
know. Um, okay. So in a bunker, hiding, video games, partying, enjoying last time, spending time with family. I'm gonna say sleeping.
okay.
Some people might just,
That's
want to just keep doing whatever they're doing, just don't care.
okay. Um,
And you can accept or reject this next one. I'm gonna say panic shopping.
well, we only have 5 choices though.
Oh, okay. I thought we had six. Then keep it like this.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
Panic
I think
shop.
this is perfect.
Panic shopping. You think people would be buying stuff at the last minute?
I mean they bought toilet paper during COVID. I don't know. People that might be just like an American thing too.
Hmm.
I don't know if other parts of the world panic buy in the way we do.
I don't know. That's a good question. I know that in this area, if there's a snowstorm, there's panic buying. There's it. You go to the supermarket and there's hardly anything left. So
That's
um,
so strange.
really annoying too. And it's like usually what happened is like I just happen to have to do my shopping at the same time when there's a snowstorm coming. So I end up having to buy stuff that I normally wouldn't buy because it's just not there. So,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, I think that looks pretty good. If you know the world's coming to an end, where would you be? Will you be? I guess that's good. In a bunker, or hiding in a basement, playing video games, partying, enjoying the last moments of life, spending time with family, precious moments, or sleeping. So does that look good?
I think that looks perfect.
Cool. All right.
This is this better get a lot of response. I think this is a good one.
Yeah, this will be pretty good. Okay. We'll come back to that one in a little bit and see what kind of reaction we get to that. So let me go ahead and close that out. Oops. All right. So the movie we're going to review or at least talk about tonight is Doctor Strangelove, or How I Loved. How's the rest of that title go? I forgot now. Hold on a second. Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. And this is a movie you had never seen before. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Everyone talks so highly about this movie, and I just had never seen it before. Just, it's not exactly the movie that you put on when you're hanging out with friends, but it is a movie that you watch with intent and, make time to watch. From what I knew before, that's what I assumed. And after watching it, my assumption was correct. Because none of my friends have put this movie on when we hang out.
Oh. no,
So,
no, as far as seeing a Stanley Kubrick, I can't pronounce the last name here. Stanley Kubrick, excuse me. Have you ever seen one of his movies before? I can't remember if we discussed that or not.
I have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
I saw that movie in like junior high.
Did you enjoy that one?
I loved it.
Okay. I thought it was kind of slow. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't. I saw it once in the theater, and I was not old enough to see it in the theater when it was new. But what happened was in 1996 there was a theater in DC that ran a whole bunch of old movies, or classic movies, I should say, and that was one of the ones they ran during that summer, and I was able to see it in the theater, which was actually pretty cool. So very large
Nice.
theater. So, but for me, it was just a little too slow. That I liked it, but I probably wouldn't go see it again. Though.
Mm, understandable.
I know a lot of people really love that movie. So, as far as any other movies, was there anything else?
Nope, that was the only one I've seen from him.
One of the movies I've seen from him, and it's really it takes a lot. It really takes a lot to watch. Is it came out in '87? It's called. Hold on a second. What was it called? Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket, 1987. It's a uh, uh, the first. It's basically two movies put together. It's like one. The first half of the movie is completely different than the second half, so it's kind of interesting. But the first half of the movie is really. I mean, if, for anybody who's ever been in the military, gone through boot camp, I'm always wondering how realistic that is because it is hard. It is really hardcore stuff. So, um, the I'm not. My dad was in the military. My mom, well, actually, both my parents were in the military. So and my dad finally got around to watching it. He didn't want to watch it for a long time because he heard about how harsh the first part of the movie was, and I can't remember what he said after he finally watched it, but um, I don't think it was. I don't think it's as realistic as it is. But that one. I'm trying to look at the other ones I've seen. I have a list in front of me. 2001. I've seen that. I think that's it. Oh, The Shining. Of course, The Shining. I like The Shining. So, have you ever seen The Shining?
I've seen parts of it. Not enough to say I've seen it.
Okay.
Just like
The,
clips and
that's another movie I've seen in a theater, but I didn't see it when it was brand new in the theater. I saw it in the Kennedy
mm.
Center in DC. There's a theater inside the Kennedy Center. We actually went and saw it there, which is pretty cool. So, but yeah, that's a movie I highly recommend as well. But it's not as good as I wouldn't say it is as good as this one, but it's definitely good. So, highly recommend that one. All right. Well, let's see. Now, as far as this movie, the obvious thing that I think should be brought up is I don't know if you how much you looked up about this movie, but there was another movie that came out in the same year. It came out after this one, which was also released by the same who released this movie? I can't remember which studio released this. Anyway, whatever studio released this one also released the other movie, which is called Failsafe, which is Failsafe has an almost nearly identical plot, story, and everything from beginning to end. The only difference is it's not a comedy or a satire, and for the most part, the ending is it's similar, but not exactly the same. Um,
Mm.
which the reason I bring it up is because during the time it came out, there was a controversy as to how could two movies come out that were so similar with the almost identical plots come out at the exact same time, and it was so similar that Kubrick actually sued the people who were making the movie because it was so identical to his. Um, and when he won in court, it was ruled that his movie would come out first. So and then the Failsafe would come out after that. So I remember seeing Failsafe in high school. For some reason, we watched it in high school. The it's like I said, it's the same premise almost. There are some differences throughout the movie. The thing about the end of that one is, and I'm going to spoil everything for this, is that the president of the United States, when the bomb goes off in Russia or the Soviet Union, that is, he actually, and to keep the Soviet Union from attacking the United States, he drops a bomb on New York City and kills everyone in New York City as a way to.
Mm.
And I said that's got to be the stupidest ending for me. I don't think that was a good ending, but it doesn't make any sense. I would venture to guess if a president did that in real life, he'd be probably impeached immediately and probably also um, brought up on charge, uh, forced out of office, and then probably executed for killing so many American citizens. So, but the anyway, or put to death with the death penalty. But anyway, let's get back to this movie. So, um, what did you like about this movie?
Oh, this movie was flawless, absolutely flawless. I thought it was so the whole movie is, anti it's very anti-war, and it makes you just think about the insane decisions that military people can make. The people you question, the people who are really responsible for the livelihood of, not only their country but the entire world when we're talking about nuclear weapons, and just like politics. I know this, especially at this time, people were concerned with like nuclear weapons and Russia and things like that. So it definitely hits a good window with that too. I don't think this would have made as big of an impact had it been released today. And unrelated, I love that it's in black and white.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I
That's
do, I do. But it just these people are maniacs. They are just wild people. I mean, you've got the general who, for virtually no reason, um, approves of bombers attacking the Soviet Union. You've got another military member having his mistress call him on a private military line in the war room of like, I'm gonna make you my wife. The president is a total fool and very reckless. And then, of course, Dr. Strangelove himself is, he used to be a Nazi, and he's just, it's named after him for a reason. And I just thought it was hilarious, scary, and very thought provoking. So I really loved this movie. And also, um, I forget the actor's name, but what's his name? He plays multiple roles.
Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers. Yeah, he plays multiple roles. Incredible, so talented, and they're all
Mhm.
so completely different.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
And
then, oh, I'm sorry. One of my favorite parts too is the pilots, because they know what's going on. They don't care at all. They just, they are just doing what they're supposed to do, carrying out, they're going to kill the world. They're like, all right, whatever. Like, sure, we're the US. We can do whatever we want. It's going to be fine. It doesn't matter. And yeah, okay. I'll see what you got to say.
okay, well, I agree with what you're saying there. There are a lot of things I'd like to discuss. Oh, there's a lot of, and this is, I think you would catch on, a lot of sexual undertones throughout the entire movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Starting off at the very beginning with the refueling of the planes. That's very, when they're playing the lovely music while they're doing that. And then the General Ripper, he's the one that's the starts the whole um, he's the one that locks down and sends out the codes so the planes will go and start their runs. He's talking about his bodily fluids, about his precious bodily fluids. And the it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you know how the censorship of movies, obviously back in the 40s and into the 50s, they were very highly censored. It was around the 50s and into the 60s when they started to when it was declared that movies were protected under free speech, therefore you could say whatever you want. That's when the censorship was lifted. So some of the stuff they were saying in this was at the time was very, very edgy, very, very, pushing the envelope, so to speak. So nowadays it's very, not that big of a deal. But when you watch this and realize what they're actually saying, it actually is pretty funny that they were saying that at this period of time. But those two court rulings had already gone through by this time, so there was no problem with the censorship aspect of it. So Peter Sellers, I agree, is phenomenal. Sometimes I think some his characters can go over, in this movie, not in this movie, but in other movies, his characters can go a little over the top sometimes, a little too zany sometimes. But he's still this one. I think especially the president and the British officer. I forget the British officer's name in this one, but I thought both of those were done very well. And then Dr. Strangelove was just, well, that was an over the top character for sure. So, but it was done pretty well. Um, George C. Scott, who played General Turgison, he's the one that you were talking about, that had was talking on the phone to the woman, but he's gonna. George C. Scott, apparently, from what I've read, when he did his scenes, he wanted to do this character much more in a serious tone. But what happened was Kubrick got him to said, well, why don't you do a zany version, and then after you do that, then we'll have you do the actual version. So what happened was, while he was doing the zany version of the character, they filmed him, and then when they went to production, George C. Scott thought they were going to use his more serious version of the character, and they did not. They used the more zany version. So,
Nice. That's a
that's
good way to get around an actor's will, director's vision versus actor's will kind of thing.
right. And, the one of the things that there's actually a scene in the war room where Turgison, where George C. Scott, I guess you could say, was walking. He tripped over and fell, and that's because he thought he was actually it didn't really matter. So, so I didn't realize that. I was watching some of the trivia stuff or reading some of the trivia stuff about this before we went live with this. So,
I
um,
thought he was one of my favorites. I
uh,
thought it was just outstanding.
so why did you like the fact it was in black and white? That's what I'm curious.
I think I think there's it kind of makes it a little more serious in a way, and I think by stripping the color away, it kind of makes it feel more like there's to me watching it there was a little more urgency kind of thing where it really was a doomsday situation. And if it was, I feel like if it was colored, it wouldn't have, I mean, it might have, but I felt like it was less distracting almost, where I could actually focus on the, the emotion and the comedy mixed with the, like, oh my God, these people are going to die in like 45 minutes. I'm halfway through this movie. And then I just think war movies in general, if it's like a war kind of tone, for me, I don't know, that's just like a personal thing. But I like black and white movies for sure. I think there's definitely a place for them, and it's different. I mean, there obviously aren't many black and white movies made today, but I think it it made the movie hit harder for me.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, I think it's fine in black and white. However, when I first saw it as a kid, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to watch a black and white movie. I don't want to watch a black and white movie. So I was much younger though, but I saw it and I liked it, so it was like it was okay. My dad kept on saying, no, you got to sit and you got to watch this. This is a good movie. This is a good movie. So
Yeah, it's easy to get kind of lost and distracted sometimes. You know, I catch myself maybe like checking out the map, the big giant map with all the warheads. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty, or like, oh, look at all the decorations of this officer. Now I'm not focused on that. You know.
the the other thing with the black and white is it enabled Kubrick to film it in a way to give like if you look at each of this a lot of the scenes, not all the scenes, but you'll see like it's kind of faded in the background, and that works pretty well with the black and white versus the color aspect of it. So um, it was a lot of that fadey kind of effect that was going on in the background. So
Yeah,
uh,
I like it. I like it.
now let's see. Now, how do you? No, I from. Oh, I'm jumping through these scenes. I'm going too fast in my head as to what I want to say. The scenes with the Russian ambassador coming in, or the Soviet ambassador, um, uh, the way they're talking over the phone. Was it the president? The president was talking with somebody over the phone, and it was like he was talking with his wife, like having an argument, but he was talking to the ambassador. I can't
He
remember what.
was talking to, I believe, the Russian president. His name is Dmitry.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And it was so funny because he said something like, well, I got some bad news. We had a guy go rogue, and there's like a big pause, and he's like, well, you know, let me finish. Like, it was so funny.
Yeah,
I forget what he exactly said.
yeah, but yeah, and there's the banter back and forth was like as someone put it, and I'm not, these are not my words, but basically it was like a husband and wife getting into a little bit of a spat sometimes. So the
Yeah, it's just so funny.
now of course I think I said this to you last week was we have a young James Earl Jones in this as well, very young. So it was kind of cool to see him in there. Of course, he was a very minor role, but he's still in there, which is kind of neat to see him there. Um, Now, tell me about the rest of the Air Force crew. He was one of the obviously in the plane. You know, Slim Pickens, which basically steals the whole show. He's the one that's flying the plane, and he's the one that rides the bomb at the very end.
Yeah,
No, this that kind of goes along with the question we asked at the beginning of the show. Where would you want to be if you know the world was coming to an end? Would you like to be riding a bomb?
Yeah, I almost was gonna put that in, but just because it was so specific about the movie, I thought people might not understand. But yeah, I mean, in times of, world collapse, you've definitely got people who are going to be doing that kind of stuff. And it's going to be the people who are literally at the hands of destruction. And I love that it says, "Hi there," and "Dear John." Do you know why those say that specifically?
Well, somebody said there's a couple of people that said I've watched this. They had their own theories. I don't think it was one of the theories was is that's the first thing you say when you first meet somebody, you're going getting romantically involved, you say hi there, and then when you're breaking up you say dear John. So
Yep, I did know the "Dear John" letter. That makes sense.
I don't know if that's true or not. And there was some other reason that they gave it. Something to do with one of the songs that's in this movie, I think. I think it might be the opening song. It might be the what's in the what um I don't remember. What one of the songs that starts off with hi there and ends with dear John. And I can't
Mm.
remember which one it was. So I don't know. I don't know exactly why. I think those are just obvious theories though that were being thrown around. Let's see. And there's of course James Earl Jones. Let's see, jump ahead here. And then with the bomb going up, for some reason I always thought I misunderstood the ending of the movie until recently. I didn't realize when the bombs go off at the very end. I always thought that they decided to start the war themselves. I thought that they started launching their own missiles. I didn't realize that the doomsday device had triggered. I didn't realize that's what had happened. I did, and I always interpret it as being that the two sides just decided to go ahead and start the war and launch weapons, but it was the doomsday device that I guess triggered and from the Russian side, and then the United States, I guess, retaliated with their missiles. So, um,
Yeah, I believe so. I believe the full thing that started off was right at the beginning. So, like, we made a movie, or not, I don't want to say we, but it was Jack Ripper who had a problem with the water supply. He had a problem with, like, he believed that the water was tainted, and
right,
then he set one off, or he gave the green light for these Air Force pilots to do this, and then the doomsday things were activated, and then the final, we launched the bomb.
right.
That's what I think. But oh my god, he was so funny too. All these people were just so perfectly maniacal and just so, like, I just could not wrap around my head around how funny, like, these people were.
Yeah, and then the names are some of them are kind of silly, but at the same time they work pretty well because this is actually based on an actual book. I can't remember what it was actually based on. Let me see if I can find that. Um, well, let's see, I'm looking that up right now. Uh, it's based on the book called Red Alert, which is written by Peter George. So the names of the book were not outlandish, and the book was not a comedy. It was actually a pretty serious story, which is kind of funny. Um, it's what I mean is the names were funny. I'm sorry, I'm kind of messing up what I meant to say there. When the movie was being written, apparently Peter George, who wrote the novel, actually helped with the writing of the movie in some way. So he wasn't completely left out, and he was okay with the fact that they made it into a comedy. But all the names were in the book were very serious sounding names, and the names were obviously very much written to be very zany in some ways, like Colonel Bat Guano. And I will say that even Peter Sellers' character, when he's playing the British officer, he says, Colonel Baquano, if that is your real name. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how anyone can trust a U.S. president named Merkin Muffley.
yeah.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. but it
The
was so perfect.
as far as let's see, the the yeah, this scene right here. When I saw, one of the things I said to you when I watched this movie for the first time was it seemed like it was very modern for its time. I mean, very ahead of its time, I should say, as far as its styling. It seemed like a very modern movie made back in the 60s. This kind of thing was not made. It didn't seem like something that was made in the 60s, aside from the fact that it was in black and white. And the opening credits kind of look like something you'd see in the 60s. You know, the way everything was written out like that. That looks like from the 60s. But the actual filming, the camera work, everything looked more modern first time. I think he was just being ahead of his time. Kubrick was just being ahead of his time in the way he filmed everything. So, and that whole scene with her talking back and forth, how she goes into her secretary voice, and then she goes back into her, honey voice with George C. Scott. That was actually done very well. Trying to think, um, what about? Oh, let's see. I'm at a loss to say anything. Do you have anything you'd like to add at this point? I was trying to think of something.
Let's take a look at this war room in itself. This is so apocalyptic and scary looking, with all the panel of people who are deciding the fate of the world. One of them stumbling over himself.
Hold on a second. Sorry. Hold on a second. Sorry. Sorry about that. I was trying to cue something up there and it just played. Sorry.
Oh,
Go
you're
ahead.
good. Yeah, I mean the war room itself is like terrifying. This is something absolutely out of a nightmare. But then when you listen to these people, they are just talking over each other. They're bringing in the Soviets to the war room. They're going to take pictures of everything that's going on. You just see how ineffective they are, and they're bumbling, and these are the people, this so scary looking room. These are the people that decide the fate of the world. It
Right.
just it cannot be understated. Like, these people are probably the worst people ever to be doing this.
And the disclaimer at the beginning of the movie that this could never happen. Uh, like, uh, like you have to actually say that. I guess people. I can't imagine people being not realizing this is a comedy or a satire. I mean, I don't know why they put that. If they had to put that in there, maybe the movie studio. I don't know, but the fact that they had to put this in there, saying that it should not be noted. It should be noted that none of these characters portrayed in this are meant to present anyone real or living, and that's something like this could never happen. I don't remember how it's worded exactly, but I'm scrolling through there. Um,
I think the first sentence here really says it all.
Let me go.
According to the Air Force, it's their position that they would be able to prevent this. Not that they say they can prevent this, but can they really? They say they could.
There was a movie that came out with Matthew Broderick called War Games. Came out in '83. Have you seen that one?
No.
Okay, I don't. If you don't mind giving, I can give you a couple of spoilers. That has a similar premise at the very beginning.
Sure.
They run through a scenario where they have to launch launch the missiles, and it's when they launch the missiles, it turns out to be a test, and it turns out like 30% of the people did not launch their missiles because they didn't want to kill anybody. So they come back and they decide to override the nuclear launch area by making it automated. And that's the whole premise of the movie, is basically that there's a computer now that's trying to get the codes and launch and start a nuclear war. And Matthew Broderick is partially responsible for, because he hacked into the system, because he found a back door into the system. And he was just trying to play some games, and it turns out he actually started the countdown for a nuclear war by doing so. So, of course, in that movie, it's the 1980s. I'm sure you know by the 1980s, nobody dies from that time forward. You know, everyone lives and there's a happy ending. Whereas in the 60s and into the 70s, the main characters, like in this movie, would die. You know, It was during the 1980s and when they made that transition to where everyone has a happy ending and everything. So, um, but the they even touch on the fact in this movie they were saying I remember it was I think it was James Earl Jones that said it. They were asking, is this a loyalty test when they first got the code? If they're going, is this actually something they're just testing us? And that's even what they went through in that movie. It's the same thing. So kind of a similar aspect of it. Of course, that movie's more serious than this one. So Ali Sheedy was the love interest in that one. But anyway, I kind of forgot where I was going with that one. Sorry, I was leading up to something, but I forgot. So sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought the war room scenes were, and then he's like, no fighting in the war room. Like that was, it just was hilarious, but then kind of harrowing at the same time. Where it's like, oh wait, okay, they're actually dealing with nuclear weapons, and I mean, I feel like just watching it from today's perspective, we talk about like nuclear weapons, whatever. It's like the U.S. has never had an actual like nuclear event on our soil. We have done that to other people,
Right.
or whatever. So as an American, I feel like the,
Well, stepping back, excluding all the testing that was done, because that's there's been a lot of that. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, just from like a mode of attack versus a test, like it's just the American psyche. I feel like where one I've heard talk about that, and it feels like something that's very distant. Has already happened. We're past that. It's something like something that doesn't happen here, or it, and then like the other attitude is it will never happen here. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the American. I personally feel like that is the American mentality of, oh, if it's going to happen, we're going to be doing it to somebody, or if it's happening, oh, we'll be in control of the situation, which is a very dangerous attitude to have. And this movie is just a good reminder of like, nobody has control. And even if we did, we're going to screw it up anyway. Like, look at these people. You know what I mean? These are the people that make that decision. It's just so ridiculous. And as an anti-war message, I think this movie does an outstanding job of making that clear. But in a modern sense, I mean, nuclear weapon doesn't even seem like something that it just doesn't feel like it's a modern problem. You know what I'm saying? Like North Korea has nukes, and that would be the modern threat today. But even the times that in American discourse recently where I've heard, oh, Kim Jong Un is getting the nukes ready and stuff like that, it doesn't feel real. I know it's not going to happen, but it very well could happen. Like it could. You know what I mean? So it's just there. You got the American pride mentality of like bring it on kind of thing, and then with the time thing of like, oh, that's a thing of the past anyway. So it just was really interesting watching it today for the first time.
now, does this make you want to watch any other Stanley Kubrick movies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with like your comments about the cinematography as well. I thought 2001: A Space Odyssey was a very, very good movie, and it was shot beautifully as well. And that was a movie that deserved color, so I'm glad it was in color. But it was it was definitely like a piece of art to me versus like a regular movie. And this was also a piece of art compared to a regular movie because I feel like good artwork in general makes you feel something and it makes you comment. It solicits a response from you. Good artwork at least. And that's exactly what this did. It got me thinking and reflecting and laughing because it is a comedy. It is a dark comedy, but it's also, once the laughing is over, it's like, oh my God, this is actually real. This isn't a joke. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's funny. These people are comical. You know, then you've got like Dr. Strangelove like like choking himself. Like that's funny. But then you realize he's a former Nazi and he also wants this to happen. He's a mad scientist, so he's ready to go.
And then he's constantly trying to keep his arm from making the Nazi salute.
Yeah, yeah. He oh my god. I didn't know, you know, people talk about this movie because it's and obviously such a good movie. But I didn't really know, you know, I it's like I've heard these references, I heard the name, whatever, and now I have the movie to put all of that into place, and it is just what a guy. What a guy.
So as far as movie references, where have you seen these? I'm just kind of curious. I'd seen the movie first before I saw any movie references that I know of. Of course, I saw it when I was pretty young. So, um, where have you seen this? And I know I've seen a couple of times on The Simpsons. They make references to this. Let me see. I'm going to bring some of that up. Here's I'm not going to play it, of course, because I don't want. Whoops, I don't get a copyright. But I can show you some of the images. There we go. You can see. Here's Homer getting ready to. He's going to drop the. What he's going to do is he's going to drop the bomb on some beatniks.
Oh my god.
And so he comes out, he jumps on the bomb, and eventually, there we go. You can see he rides the bomb down just like in the movie.
I think I remember this episode.
Oh, really?
I think so.
No.
Maybe. It's been a really long time.
And somebody pointed out about the original scene from the movie itself. When Slim Pickens is riding the rocket down, you basically only hear a little bit of ambient sound and him singing and going yahoo, making his little mouth, yelling and everything. There's no music or anything, which really adds to it. And then when he hits, it's just complete silence for like a split second. So, and someone pointed out that if they'd done that nowadays, there'd be like a bunch of music put in there. But I think the way it was done was just pretty well spot on. So,
Yeah. I feel like the references that I've seen to this movie is the glove and of Doctor Strangelove, and also there was an Animaniacs character that I remember, and I looked it up, and his name is Sir Yaxalot, and he looks a lot like Doctor Strangelove, like exactly. That's a spitting image.
Sir Yaks a lot.
Yep. Animaniacs. It might not show up.
I don't remember. I used to watch Animaniacs, kind of. And
Here, I'm gonna send it. I'll send you the picture, or I'll send you the link here. Maybe you can pop it up.
Oh, okay. In the private. Okay, gotcha. I get a second there. Hold on. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like the war room is just I mean, there's always like war, like there's like the war room is a real thing. But I feel like after watching this movie, that is the type of war room that I know today. And I feel like I would just assume that this war room shaped the pop culture, what most people know the war room to look like a big giant map on the wall, dots for the warheads and stuff like that.
There it is. I can bring that up again. Somebody said that when they made the table, you can't see the color obviously, but the table that they're sitting at is supposed to be green. And of course, you can't tell, but it's supposed to resemble like a poker, like they're at a card game, like they're having a card game in some way. I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of does look like that.
Oh, that would be funny. That would make sense. I mean, that's how it feels. Like that they're gambling. I mean, literally, they're gambling with our lives. They're gambling on everything.
And then I don't know if you ever saw the show Mystery Science Theater 3000 at all.
Yeah.
They used to make the women will be choosing for the sexual. They changed the line a little bit. They would always throw that in there once in a while, though. in their version they say, and women will be chosen for their sexual prowess or something like that. So, and this one is not. I heard that one line so many times in that show that every time I hear this, I go, "Oh, that's the line is actually different."
Yeah. I read a little bit that there was some adjustments made like that, like with the script and scenes. So, but I don't know. This is the only version I've seen, obviously. So,
the uh, I guess what was the letters OPE? What was that again? I'm trying to find that.
so I think that was the code when they were on the when it was going to the pilots with the Air Force. I believe that was the code that they had for the ship or for the nukes. Like that
There,
was the code they needed. Oh yes, this.
there you go.
Yes. This was so funny watching the zoom out of this.
That was the
Hysterical.
O POE. Yeah, well, that was the cancellation code that they needed to send to the planes, right? Exactly. But yeah, the peace on Earth or purity of essence. It was like one of the other. So, and they were trying to. There we go. So yeah, the Peter Sellers character had figured it out, and then that's he was being delayed by the other general who wouldn't let him make the call, and then they used to make the call, and he has to put money in the machine.
Yeah, that was good too. Like, I need 50 cents, please. I have to call on a, can you just make this collect call to the president right now? It's an emergency. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
Please. Please.
and then
Hilarious.
and then the with the soda machine, he says, "Oh, you have to answer the people of Coca-Cola."
That was good. It was like these moments where you're like, this is ridiculous. But then you get to the end and you see a mushroom cloud. And you're
Yeah.
like, yep, this could actually happen. Joke's over.
So nowadays, I think I've heard that there are 17,000 nuclear missiles out there. So I do remember when I was a kid that during the 80s, especially, there was a lot of people that thought that that could something like this could still happen. But then when the wall came down, what was that, the early 90s? I can't remember when that happened. But it was like all of a sudden it was like people were like, no, 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 everything's different. But and then we discovered that the Soviet Union was nowhere near as technically advanced as we thought they were. So they were just so far behind on a lot of things. So they did have the missiles though, but they weren't as sophisticated as technologically we thought they had been. They had basically been reverse engineering a lot of stuff to get where they were. So, and then but this nowadays, yeah, I agree that probably because you're younger and everything, you wouldn't. I don't think you would remember any of that, or would you? Do you remember any of that? Okay.
No, I for some reason I have burned into my mind that the Berlin Wall came down November 9, 1989, even though I was not born until the 90s. So, yeah, I don't know why I remember that at all.
Okay. Okay. I remember it was late 80s, early 90s. I just couldn't remember. Okay. So, and I remember up until then, it was definitely very much a threat. A lot of people thought about that a lot. So, and all of a sudden when the wall came down, it's just like everything just changed. Like nobody even considered nuclear war. Like it's just like, well, it's a forgotten memory. It's something of the past. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So,
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, where it's like, oh, it's a thing of the past. It's been done, it's dealt with. Like, and that is such a foolish attitude to have, especially as a young person. There's literally a saying about this: those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. And I feel like this movie, for me, really hit that on the head. Obviously, there was a lot of other things also, but that's how I feel too. It's like, do not forget that this isn't too far from a possible reality.
yeah.
Even though the opening of the movie says, don't worry, the Air Force says they have safeguards in place to prevent this. I mean, let's be real. These are actually the real people that are in control of the situation today. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And they're just normal people like everyone else. They're just going to act like everyone else would. So they just happen to be the ones that are in charge that have to make the decisions. So for
Yeah.
anybody that's in the position is going to do pretty much the same. I would.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't matter who's actually in charge for the most part because they want to survive and they're going to make sure they survive, and everyone else is going to be whatever. So
Very, very true. Yeah. And these people are definitely, self motivated. They don't, never once in the entire movie did they mention anybody else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were only concerned with, like, themselves. And
yeah,
then, especially at the end, they're like, Doctor Strange was like, well, we could put everybody underground for 500 years, restore the world. And they're like, what? Is that possible? And he's like, no, it's not. That's not gonna happen. Like, it was funny. It was so good.
the now I will say that it is kind of a interesting movie where you have the death and destruction of the entire planet essentially. It's when you think about how it's actually a comedy. I mean, the whole world is basically annihilated at the very end.
Yeah. And it's kind of like I watch it, I'm like, I knew this was gonna happen. But it's also like, oh my god, it actually happened.
uh,
And I
and
mean, the good movies don't always end on a happy note. But this, obviously, through all this build up and everything, it had to happen because they had to, with all the insanity that all these people, even the pilots themselves, were just, he rode the thing like a cowboy. Like, it had to be this. They were all locked into the destruction of the world, all for very different reasons. And every single one of them was self motivated, like self driven. And it's just, that is the sick reality of like nuclear weapons.
right,
Every one person it makes that decision for everybody.
the end of the end of the world is being run by people who just don't really care. So
Yeah, and former Nazi with a evil hand.
yeah.
Him too. Him too.
Yeah, he was based on actually. Well, obviously there were real scientists that came over from Nazi Germany. So uh,
Yeah, that's like a whole nother thing. Like, but that is true also. I mean, historically, that is very relevant to the conversation.
one of the things I used to teach when I was when I was still at one of my college courses when I was teaching I used to tell my students that magnetic tape that we use like for cassettes and all those in VHS tape that was actually started by the Nazis. And when the war was over, we magnetic tape came over. We brought it back over and reversed engineered it and basically brought it into our country. So, and I would always preface this by saying, I'm not saying anything good about the Nazis. So I didn't want my students to think I was saying anything good about the Nazis. So I would just make sure that they knew. But I was just, it was kind of funny how many things actually come from Nazi Germany and made it into the rest of the world after the war. So,
Yeah, it's terrible, but you can't deny that though. I mean, they had some scientists for sure.
mhm,
They had some good scientists, but they also had some. I mean, they were all evil. We don't got to get into that though. But
right.
um, yeah, yeah, we definitely uh, took some of them over here, and that just makes this movie even more scary. Like you said, he kept saying like Fuhrer and stuff. It's like, ooh, that's really who like that's who we have. Like, those are the people that, I mean, you know, it's not like, it's still, I truly believe, like, not even that far from reality today.
And when he finally makes his final revelation there, he actually stands up.
Yeah. Okay, what was that about? So, was he lying the whole time, or what? I did not understand.
I think that what he was saying at the time, he just realized it just made him be able to somehow get to his last last. He's finally able to get up enough to actually stand up and walk for a split second. Whatever revelation he was making at the very end, he was just so excited about it or something that it made him be able to walk for like the last second of his life or whatever it was, for that revelation. So
that's what I thought is like his last moments. He's like, I did it.
yeah.
And then it's like, and you're dead.
Yeah, and then they immediately show the bombs going off at that point. And that's the thing I was saying earlier, and like movies like in the 60s, into the 60s and 70s, you would see the main characters. It was something that Quentin Tarantino played out, and I didn't realize until he said it, that you watch a movie from up until the 70s, and the main characters, the good guys, will die, and it's like it's okay because it was fine. And then one of the things he hated about the 80s was that that's when they started making it so that like a movie like this would come out today, everyone would probably survive. There wouldn't be a nuclear war at the end. Everyone would, they would have found a way to fix it or something, and there would be a nice happy ending. So, you ever seen the
no,
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I have not.
Okay, well, I don't know if I should spoil anything on that one, but it follows that same kind of premise, unfortunately. So the movie version versus the original versions of the story that was told.
So it's like positive ending, happy ending.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And the original story was not a happy ending like that. It was completely different.
That's interesting when they do that, where it's like, this totally changes the entire movie. You can't just like change the ending. That's the ending is based on everything in the beginning. So if everything in the, you know what I mean? Like that changes everything.
Right. Now the movie itself kind of implied that there might have been a continuation because they left out a lot of the elements from the original stories. And I the reason I say that is stories is because it was done. There was originally a radio version of the story. There was a book version. There was also a TV version. So there are several different versions. But with the exception of the movie, they didn't have a happy ending. The movie was the only one that had the actual happy ending. I've not read the books, and I've not seen or heard the radio shows, but I do know that they didn't end in that way. So, but anyway, I didn't want to give too much away on that one, just in case you ever see that.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I might.
So what would you give this movie overall? Your final grade or score?
Do I even need to say it? I don't think I've ever given a movie this rating before. Dude, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
That's above and beyond. So no, I remember you said that when we watched Time Bandits, you said that was your favorite movie of all time when you saw that.
This movie has taken over the movie that I said was my favorite movie.
Oh, okay.
The Time Bandits, that almost made me cry. It was so good. It was very good. Those movies were amazing. They really were. But this movie, you can appreciate a feel-good story that, it gives you that, it restores that childhood sense of like joy and excitement and wonder. But this movie was hilarious, dark, scary, and also like very relevant. And that is something that, especially relevant today, and has a good message. Those are things that that a person doesn't always find. And when you do find it, you have to appreciate it. And that's why I think this movie is truly, it's a great movie, but it's more a piece of art and a commentary and critique than it is like a good story. And that's why it's so special. And I really love this.
Now, as far as Full Metal Jacket goes, the reason I bring that up because that's another war movie. And also, I don't know if we talked about this, but this movie that Dr. Strangelove is the only comedy that he ever did. So all the other movies are serious. the Full Metal Jacket. It's another war movie, and that one's kind of hard to. It shows war, and at the end, it almost leaves it. I guess it leaves it up more to the audience's perspective if war is good or bad. Versus this one, you can tell that the war is not good. But the other one, it's like it kind of leaves it up in the air a little bit. So very,
Hmm,
very dark movie in some ways. So
nice. Yeah. What would you rate this movie?
I'll give it I'll say a 9.5. How's that?
Ooh. Okay, so not perfect,
Oh, it's up.
but
Yeah, I don't think I've ever rated a movie a perfect movie. So I knocked it down just a little bit just because of that. I don't know if there is such a thing for as a perfect movie for me. So I'll say it's almost perfect, just lacking. And so, I know it's not really lacking. It's not. I can't think of a reason why I would want to make it a perfect movie at this.
yeah. I understand that. I understand that where it's like, yeah, I get you. I get you for sure.
So so as far as the movie goes, obviously you would recommend it. And
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy this movie. Like I'm gonna rewatch this movie.
okay,
Like I'm gonna buy this movie. I'm gonna. Oh, I feel like I'm so late to the game. I feel like most of my friends have seen this movie. You know what I mean? But there's never a situation where we can flip it on and be like, "Hey, let's hang out, watch this movie. Let's watch Doctor Strangelove," or like this is not a movie that you can just flip on. Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. And does anybody want chips, some pop? You guys want to hang out? No, this is not that kind of movie, but it's good.
it's good. Yes, I would definitely recommend it as well. Just just I just I keep in mind. Well, you don't really have to keep. I was gonna say keep in mind when it came out, but you don't really need to. You don't need to really know. I was gonna say you need to remember the Cold War is going on, but you don't really need to know that to appreciate it at all. So, um, the just to let you know, yeah, you left me a comment earlier about your microphone making some staticky sounds. I think were you saying that just in case we're getting a comment where someone was saying that your microphone is making some annoying noises earlier. So
Yeah, it went away. It went away now. I don't hear it right now,
yeah,
but
so we should be
we're
good there.
almost done anyway. So
Yeah. All right. Well, would you like to check the question that we asked earlier? See what kind of results we got here.
I would love to check the question. And I would love to also shout out Sandeep Mohan R because very nice viewer gave a recommendation, but also Sandeep, we've had a lot of we agree a lot on these polls. So if you have commented, I look forward to seeing your comment. I look forward to seeing every comment. But Sandeep Mohan R, you're the man.
Okay. Here we go. There we go. We
I
got
knew it. I knew it.
128 votes so far, and the leading result is 56% with playing video games. Whoops, blocking that one. Next one now, 16% in a bunker or hiding in a basement. Next down, we have 11% with spending time with family, precious moments. See, next one we got after that. Number, okay, 9% was sleeping, and then partying and enjoying the last moments of life at 7%. Really, I thought that would be higher. That's interesting.
I just feel like we are so focused on video games that there's no time for partying. And I don't blame anybody because that's where I'd be. I'd be
I
playing games myself.
I figure a lot of people would be just getting together, either with spending time with family, or getting together with friends and just enjoying life for the last moments because there's nothing you can do to stop it. If it's nothing you can do to stop it, that is, if it's beyond your control, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, I can't imagine people hiding in a bunker or in a basement. I mean, I guess there would be some. The and playing video games, that's awfully high. Okay, let's look at the answers here. And just so you know, Sandeep did respond. We got a couple there.
Yes.
Uh, we got we've got one of praying.
That I was going to put on there potentially, But I'm glad somebody mentioned that because that is a legit one. If there was six, that would have been the sixth.
Yeah, kind of like I told you in that TV show Sliders, where a lot of people are actually spending time with their religious beliefs, trying to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the show handled that pretty well. Partying, enjoying the last moments of life. Andrew says it's actually quite sad that 46% of the people here would rather spend their moments pushing some buttons and moving a character rather than spending it with family. Well, guess what? It's now 56%.
Yes, it's even more.
Sandeep says, can you please give me a heart from you, please? I mean, thumbs up to my comments. If I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that because you asked me to.
We
There you
don't give many out, but he gets one.
go. Okay. And Sandeep also says, what's greater than spending time with, what's greater than spending time with family? Everybody plays video games, but family is more important to me rather than characters moving on a screen. Okay, on a computer. It's basically the same as the other one. So, uh, and then spending time with my homies in Grove Street. Another San Andreas reference
Thank
there.
you, Brandon.
So,
Nice.
alrighty. All right. Well, we can come back to that next week and take a look. But yeah, I am surprised that there's that many people. I mean, you're right. It's probably based on the fact that it's on my channel. So I still can't believe that more than half of the people said that. And not only that, it increased as it went on. So it got higher.
But that definitely
Oh,
proves remember we were talking about the theory of like everyone picks answer A.
oh, right.
Not everybody picked answer A for this one.
That's true. And while I just refreshed the screen, it went up another percentage point from 56 to
Oh
55.
my god.
So,
That's awesome.
alrighty. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we hope you like the show. And we'll be back next week. Something else we'll review. And until then, have a good time.